But sticking with this issue, what's been going on around the whole Charlie Kirk thing?
Well, just continuing with the fallout from the Charlie Kirk shooting and the political fallout from that, it's interesting how this is developing. And we'll bring on screen here. That's the Attorney General for Donald Trump, Pam Bondi. And there's Charlie Kirk in the background. So AG, Pam Bondi's confusion over hate speech and free speech seems to be a problem here. It wasn't that long ago that conservatives and the right were screaming and frothing at the mouth about the radical left and left authoritarianism, cancel culture, enforcing hate speech. This is the worst thing ever. And all of a sudden, now MAGA becomes AOC. It's absolutely incredible. Here is Pam Bondi from her own words.
Speech, and then there's hate speech. And there is no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie, in our society.
Do you see more law enforcement going after these groups who are using hate speech and putting cuffs on people so we show them that some action is better than no action?
We will absolutely target you, go after you if you are targeting anyone with hate speech, anything. And that's across the aisle.
That is just incredible. That degree of attempted limitation on. I mean, where's the First Amendment in all this?
From the country's top law enforcement official,
right?
Doesn't actually understand or has read the Constitution. At least it appears that way. But let's look at how this is basically playing out. Here is Pam Bondi, and just to get the statement that she made there's free speech and then there's hate speech, and there's no place, especially now, especially after what happened to Charlie in our society. It's all very arbitrary and very vague, and that's the problem with hate speech. This is the Free Speech Center. It's one of the few universities in America, Middle Tennessee State University, that has a specialist department on this very issue. And this is what they say. This is, to put it bluntly, absolutely false. So-called hate speech is free speech. That is the whole point of the First Amendment. So Pam Bondi here get it absolutely incorrect, wrong. She gets an F on her Constitutional 101 class on this. So, and listen, don't take our word for it. This is what Charlie Kirk said in 2020.
Is that even hate speech should be completely and totally allowed in our country. The most disgusting speech should absolutely be protected. And it's not a viewpoint that is held by the left. The ACLU used to hold this viewpoint. The American Civil Liberties Union, they sued so that legitimate Nazis could march through downtown Skokie. You remember this? Back in the 80s and 90s. Now, why would the ACLU do this? Because they said, as soon as you use the word hate, that is a very subjective term. Because then all of a sudden it is in the eyes or it is in the implementation of whomever has the power. So here's my belief. The more speech, the better.
So that I mean, if they're talking about doing this in Charlie's legacy, that demonstrates that they're not respecting his legacy at all.
No, it just shows how clueless all of these political actors are. I was just speaking to a former board member of the ACLU last night, Garland Nixon, who many people know, who resigned from his position because of the cancel culture and because of their pro-big pharma stance regarding speech in relation to vaccines. So there's people of principle on the old left that would actually follow the Constitution. That's what the ACLU used to do. But here is, the fallout from Pam Bondi, why everything Pam Bondi said about hate speech is wrong. This is from the Foundation for Individual Rights and Education, defending free speech on campuses across the United States. And Pam Bondi, unfortunately, Mike, had to walk this back just a day ago. And she clarifies now that hate speech won't be prosecuted. Let's get clarification on that from the Attorney General. Attorney General Pam Bondi tells Axios her office is not prosecuting or investigating anybody for alleged hate speech, only for speech that she says unlawfully incites violence. Wow. So she is picking this issue up gradually, because the whole point of hate speech, if you look at the constitutional cases on these very issues, they're tied to incitement. So the law states very specifically there has to be a direct line to actual incitement or imminent incitement or violence as a result of the speech. If that cannot be shown at the time, then of course the government can't come in and prosecute, similar to yelling fire in a crowded theater here. So that's where that issue is at the moment, Mike. Now, Donald Trump has taken it to yet another level on this. Just to extend this discussion, here's what Trump has to say.
And a woman, in many cases, women, you can see they're professional agitators. I had one the other night. I had 4 the other night, all in one group, total phonies. I started to scream when I got into a restaurant, oh, something with Palestine. And I said, well, I'm doing a great job for peace in the Middle East. I should get lots of awards for that, right? With the Abraham Accords and everything else. But a woman just stood up and started screaming. And she got booed out of the place, too. There were a lot of people in the restaurant. I went there to show how safe, and it was safe. I mean, the woman is just a mouthpiece. All she was a paid agitator. And you have a lot of them. And I've asked Pam to look into that in terms of RICO, bringing RICO cases against the criminal RICO, because they should be put in jail. What they're doing to this country is really subversive.
So for us Brits, what are RICO cases?
This is the RICO statute for organized crime and racketeering. I mean,
wow. It's
a bit rich for Trump to be saying that, because he himself could be sued under a RICO statute for trying to strong-arm Disney and ABC, threatening FCC, not approving a merger and acquisition. I mean, that's racketeering from the White House. So, I mean, this president is unbelievable. So Trump clearly doesn't believe or understand the First Amendment, or has never read the U.S. Constitution. I honestly think he hasn't, because if he did and even had a freshman high school level civics 101 understanding of it, he wouldn't say such things, because that is protected speech. Just even if they are paid agitators, talking about Code Pink,
right,
anti-war protesters that bothered him during his restaurant dinner the other night, you can't send the attorney general after people that you don't like who are protesting and exercising their First Amendment rights. I mean, for a president of the United States to say this, especially somebody who claims to be a conservative, who ran as a Republican, it's beyond the pale. Honestly, I don't know what to say. So it just goes from bad to worse. Now let's look at this issue regarding right here. We'll bring this up on screen. So this brings up the Section 230 debate, Mike, about Wikipedia, Facebook. Will they allow free speech or make editorial decisions? If they do, they fall foul of Section 230. So that's where this issue's coming up. So now what's happening, Mike, and this is related to the online safety conversation in the UK, is that states, and we discussed this before, individual states are doing end runs around the First Amendment and around this Section 230 issue to bring in digital IDs, for instance, age checks and so forth.
So the point is, it's exactly the same policy as we have in the United Kingdom, but you can't do it in the United States at a federal state level. At a federal state level, it has to be done at an individual state level in an effort to try to circumvent the limitations on the federal government. Yeah,
it is. And so this is happening. These things will be challenged. Some will be knocked back in the higher courts, no doubt. But there is a real pressure, isn't there, from various forces to want to regulate speech online, and they're using every means possible to do it. And that's the thing that we need to keep our eyes on. So just to continue on this discussion here, now bringing up this issue, we'll bring this up on screen here. This went onto the Gray Zone, which was Max Blumenthal and Anya Parampil penned this story here, basically saying that Charlie Kirk, according to a source, offered to fund Turning Point USA. Kirk refused to take a trip to Israel, which Netanyahu was asking for. And this wasn't long before his shooting, his death. So that's interesting. And it goes further here. Billionaire Bill Ackman convened stormy Israel intervention with Charlie Kirk, say sources. This was a meeting that was called in the elite Hamptons in Long Island, where Charlie Kirk was summoned for a struggle session, apparently, on the issue of Israel. At least that's the implication in the Gray Zone story there. So the circumstantial case is there was a lot of pressure from the Israeli lobby, from Israeli interests, on Turning Point. And we talked about this last week, Mike, that Charlie Kirk represents the billionaire donor class that pumped money into Turning Point and made it a $100 million a year concern. You're dealing with major forces here, and a lot of Zionist billionaires, Christian and Jewish in America. So we'd be naive not to bring this up and not to discuss it circumstantially. The forensic case of the shooting is a separate conversation, but these were the political forces that were swirling around the 31-year-old Charlie Kirk, very young man. And you're talking about some big, powerful forces here, including the ones that have captured the White House and have captured Congress and Senate. Now, here is Benjamin Netanyahu, who keeps denying that he had anything to do with it. What's the old Shakespeare saying? Lady doth
protest too much. Yeah.
Doth protest too much. I think Bibi doth protest way too much. Listen to this.
Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propaganda minister, said that the bigger the lie, the faster it will spread. Well, somebody has fabricated a monstrous big lie that Israel had something to do with Charlie Kirk's horrific murder. This is insane. It is false. It is outrageous. Charlie Kirk was a giant, a once-in-a-century talent who defended freedom, defended America, defended our common Judeo-Christian civilization. Charlie loved Israel. He loved the Jewish people. He told me so in a letter that he sent me just a few months ago. One of my greatest joys as a Christian, he said, is advocating for Israel and forming alliances with Jews to protect Judeo-Christian civilization. He encouraged me to make the case directly to the American people about how vital Israel is to U.S. national security. He told me, the Holy Land is so important to my life, it pains me to see support for Israel slip away. Now, if Charlie disagreed with a policy of mine or a decision here and there, not only did I not mind, I welcomed it. This is the essence of Charlie. This is the essence of a free country. It's exactly what Charlie stood for. And I knew that his suggestions always came from the heart, from his love for Israel and from his love for the Jewish people. A few weeks before his death, I spoke to Charlie. I invited him to visit Israel again. And sadly, that won't happen. Now some are peddling these disgusting rumors, perhaps out of obsession, perhaps with Qatari funding. What I do know is this: Charlie Kirk was a great man, and a great man deserves honor, not lies. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. May your memory be a blessing.
So he's implying that the gray zone are funded by Qatar, which is completely not true. And it used to be Judeo-Christian values, but now it's Judeo-Christian civilization. This is a new upgrade to that talking point. I wasn't briefed on that, but thank you, Bibi, for that. Now, Bibi misquoted Joseph Goebbels. Let's bring the man himself up on screen here. We'll bring this up on screen. There he is. Hitler's infamous propaganda minister, Joseph Goebbels. There's the actual quote. So Bibi misquoted him. The actual quote starts off with, if you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. The lie can be maintained only for such a time as the state can shield the people from the political, economic, and or military consequences of the lie. So not only did Bibi misquote him, but he took it totally out of context. We'll bring that up on screen again. And, you know, we shouldn't be too hard here because clearly both men are passionate about their propaganda, and that is the bottom line. Back to you, Mike.
Yes.